Magandang araw po sa inyo. Welcome po sa isa na namang episode ng online series ni Inang Pamantasan kung saan ang pagkatuto ay walang hangganan. Ito ang PNU Talks. Ako po si Kim de Castro at ako ang inyong Learning from Home buddy sa episode na ito. In line with the celebration of ASEAN Week, for this day, I will share with you a talk entitled Experiences of Student-Teacher Mobility in ASEAN. Sa talk na ito, layunin ko na ibahagi ang aking mga karanasan at mga natutunan sa pagiging isang student teacher sa Bandung, Indonesia. Therefore, the batik. I will divide my sharing into three parts. First, I will talk about the Sea Teacher Project, the program that allowed me to be a student teacher in Indonesia and my actual experience teaching Indonesian students. Second, I will talk about my cultural experiences. What is it like living in another ASEAN country such as Indonesia? Who are the people that I have met? And lastly, most importantly, I will talk about the insights that I have gained and how it contributed to the formation of the teacher that I am today. Noong taong 2018, while I was in my fourth and last year in PNU, maswerte ako dahil napili ako bilang isa sa mga estudyante na lalahok sa Sea Teacher Project. The Sea Teacher Project gives pre-service student teachers from universities in Southeast Asia a chance to have a teaching internship in schools in other countries within the region. In essence, para po siyang isang student exchange program na para lamang sa mga student teacher sa Southeast Asia. Instead of taking classes, student teachers get to actually practice their teaching skills in an internship practicum format. Ang proyekto na ito ay ginawa ng SEAMU o ng Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization. I was one of the 5 PNU1s selected to be part of the 5th batch of SEA teachers. Currently, there are 8 batches in total. However po, the project is currently on hold because of the pandemic. I was assigned to be hosted by Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia or Indonesia University of Education. It's a multi-campus teacher education institution, and I was assigned to its main campus in Bandung, Indonesia. There, I had the chance to teach at the university's laboratory school. Because I was an English major, I was assigned to teach Bahasa Inggris to 8th grade students. Bahasa Inggris po ang tawag nila sa kanilang English subject. Tulad din ng format dito sa Pinas, sinimulan namin ang aming practice teaching sa pamamagitan ng pag-o-observe sa mga klase. Habang pinapanood ko na magturo ang aking cooperating teacher, si Mr. Aan, I took note of things that I thought I should also do once it's already my turn teaching. Finally, it was my turn. As I taught lessons on present continuous tense, comparatives, and superlatives, it was a constant process of reflecting on what worked and what did not, which activities my students like and which activities they find boring or were simply not effective. I have two main takeaways from my teaching experience there. The first one is that personally, I thought I should speak more deliberately. Mabilis kasi ako magsalita in natural school setting. Indonesia is an amazingly multilingual society. I mean, back then my students know more languages than I do. And English is almost just a foreign language to them. Our students then had various levels of proficiency in English, so I thought I should make sure that everyone can understand by speaking deliberately. I should also consistently employ simple formative assessments that will allow me to know whether or not they have understood what I taught them. Second, I thought I should project a very warm and approachable persona. In their eyes, I was the foreigner who teaches English, and I think some of them were intimidated, to be quite honest. Napansin ko nung nag-observe pa lang ako na malapit ang mga estudyante sa kanilang mga teacher. Medyo casual ang relationship or ang turing nila sa isa't isa sa klase. So I thought I should attempt to establish that same kind of connection. Siguro ganun talaga yung culture nila sa school. I realized that this connection can also help me, especially me, all right? Because using it, I can weaken the communication barriers. And by doing so, I am making my students more comfortable and safe in my class. I also had a university supervisor, Miss Ian. She was the professor from my host university who checked up on me from time to time. Binigyan niya ako ng overview ng Indonesian ELT curriculum at ilang mga konteksto na kailangan kong malaman para makapagturo ng maayos sa Indonesia. My most memorable experience with her is when she allowed to sit in one of the undergraduate courses that she was teaching at that time, which is ELT for young learners. And during that time I was taking a certificate in teaching elementary. Doon, nakilala ko ang mga university students na tulad ko ay mga pre-service English teachers. At dahil nasa practicum ako, binigyan ni Miss Ian ng pagkakataon ng kanyang mga estudyante na tanongin ako tungkol sa mga experience ko sa pagtuturo. Alright, so first, let me talk about the people. Maswerte ako kasi siyam na Filipino kami na na-assign sa Bandung. So there's still a touch of home. Tatlo kami na galing sa PNU at ang iba naman ay mula sa ibang university sa Pilipinas. May galing sa Ilocos, sa Naga, sa Davao, at iba pang lugar. Bukod pa rito, mayroon din apat na sea teacher na galing naman sa Thailand. Our host university gave us international buddies. They are actually local university students who guided us throughout our stay in Bandung. They told us where to buy essentials, where to eat, and they also accompanied us in trips around Bandung. Indonesian people are warm in general. One of our buddies, Afghan, was so generous in fact. Nalala ko na ipinahiram niya sa amin yung ilang mga gamit niya tulad ng rice cooker para mas madali ang pag-adjust namin sa Bandung. I also still remember the lady whom I used to buy food from. She was very patient with me and she always served my food with a smile. I don't know how to speak Bahasa Indonesia and likewise she doesn't speak English, but through hand signals and gestures, my first purchase from her was a success. Eventually, I learned how to say some sentences and phrases in Bahasa, so our transaction became smoother. At some point, I was actually even able to introduce myself to her and share some things about myself. Bukod sa mga Indonesian, we also met a lot of people from other parts of the world. We were lucky to be assigned to Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, or UP na lang for short, because they have a lot of international students. It was not so unusual for us to see people from different races walking from building to building. At that time, UP hosts around 90 international students, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, we got to meet a lot of them. We shared laughs, jokes over playing Uno. One of them also taught us the game Mafia. And I still remember arguing with them in good nature, of course, because of the game. And inevitably, hindi maiwasan, we also played sports and talk about international teams. Badminton is huge in Indonesia. So one time, we went to a nearby badminton court and spent the entire afternoon playing with other students, both local and international. One of my memorable encounters is when we were able to partake in a movie night. Mayroong Canadian couple na nakatira sa Bandung na nag-host ng monthly movie night and it's open to everyone. Patok na patok yung movie night na yon sa mga international students sa UP. Kaya syempre, sinama nila kami. That night, the movie we watched was Sleepless in Seattle. And I watched it with people from more or less 20 different countries. I forgot the exact number, but I remember our host saying that that night was a record holder for them. Afterwards, we shared a meal, and I remember just simply enjoying a conversation about books and movies with people that I just met. Second, the places and food. Bandung is pretty much like Baguio. Tropical country ang Indonesia pero hindi namin naramdaman ang natural na init nito kasi malamig ang climate sa Bandung. We actually didn't need fans, and when we went out, we sometimes had to wear another layer of clothes. Relatively, it's easy to go around Bandung. Ang main transportation method ay ang angkot. Isa siyang van na ni-remodel para ang interior setup niya ay magmukhang parang yung jeep sa atin. You have to say kiri, with the word kiri, pagpapara ka na. During our stay there, our host university, UP, arranged tours for us. We had it for 2 Sundays. Together with some university personnel and our buddies, of course, we explored the locations around Bandung. We got to see Kawaputi, which literally is a volcanic crater. We also got to see the tea and strawberry farms, which are prominent industries in Bandung. We also witnessed a cultural show featuring an Aflung orchestra. Our buddies also took us to small trips around the downtown or the more urban areas of Bandung. We went to the local market, the mall, and we also visited a very big mosque. As for the food, I personally think, in my opinion, that their cuisine has a somewhat similar flavor profile with our food. It's just that some dishes are very, very spicy. Sambal, a condiment made from crushed chili, is a usual accompaniment to dishes that they serve. Ang pinakatumatak sa akin na pagkain ay ang nasi goreng, which is fried rice, at beef rendang na isang curry. Na parang isang curry. Hindi siya curry, pero para siyang isang curry. It's unfortunate that the program only lasts for 6 months. Pagkatapos kasi ng isang buwan, kailangan ng umuwi ng mga sea teachers sa kanilang mga kanya-kanyang bansa. If given the chance, I would definitely go through the experience again and actually stay there for a longer period of time if possible. Needless to say, napakarami kong natutunan sa pagiging isang sea teacher. At the risk of sounding grandiose, I would say that the Sea Teacher project made me a better person, and in fact also a better teacher now. This is because it exposed me to other cultures, and this exposure expanded my regional and worldview. First, for me, this manifests in the following ways. First, on communication. Through my encounters with people from different cultures, I was able to confirm that indeed, communication requires so much more than just facility of language. Kailangan mo rin isaalang-alang ang mga social context at cultural factors na kinapapalooban ng isang conversation. Knowing English, which usually is the lingua franca in an international setup, is just one thing. Being aware of social cultural cues is another. It also encourages you to be sensitive and respectful. Once you made that connection, exposure to other cultures will surely open a lot of doors for you. As a teacher, this sensitivity, I would say, allowed me to be more understanding of my students. Bakit kaya niya sinabi o nagawa yon? Anong konteksto ang pinanggagalingan niya? My exposure to other cultures taught me to look beyond face value and try to better understand people. This was the courtesy given to me when I arrived in Bandung, and it's only human for me to, imbibe that and return it back. Second, on innovation and creativity. I believe exposure to diversity leads to innovation and creativity. Actually, several studies have already proven this to be true. Gawin Zhang did a study in 2016 with this finding, and so do Deloitte in 2018. By interacting with other cultures, you get to be exposed to other ways of thinking and, for example, another point of view. You get to understand the shoes that other people put on. I realized this when, as a student teacher, I started comparing and contrasting the way English was taught in Indonesia and in the Philippines. I gained insights on how to teach a multilingual class and insights as well in teaching English as a foreign language. More so, now as an actual classroom teacher, my experience has given me the drive to expose my students to the same kind of experience. I took advantage of the online learning setup by implementing a project wherein my class got to collaborate with another class in another country. They exchanged essays that they've written themselves, and this got my students excited. They got to showcase their culture while also understand another culture apart from their own. There's nothing like an authentic audience to get students excited for a writing task. And lastly, third, on reducing personal cognitive biases. I believe my interaction with other cultures reduced my cognitive biases. According to Cherry in 2020, when we say cognitive biases, it's a systematic error in thinking that occurs when people are processing and interpreting information in the world around them. Sinusubukan kasi natin minsan na pasimplihin ang mga information na natatanggap natin at itong simplification na ito naapektuhan nito yung mga desisyon at judgment na ginagawa natin. Isa sa mga manifestation ng cognitive biases ay ang pagsistereotype or stereotyping. Instead of taking an individual as, an actual individual, we sometimes tend to associate the characteristics of that person with either the race, gender, or religion that she or he belongs to. Right? For some reason, iniisip natin na representative siya ng race, gender, or religion na kinabibilangan niya. And of course, this is not true, and this only leads to division and racial profiling. Exposure to other cultures, particularly to the people, allowed me to see them as humans, individuals with their own choices and decisions. My short stint as a C teacher is very significant to me. It expanded my worldview, and it's a view that I would like to share to my students. Bilang isang guro, isa tayo sa bumubuo ng worldview ng ating mga estudyante. Kaya importante na ang ating sariling worldview ay malawak. Dahil dito, I hope that you've learned at least something from my sharing regarding my student-teacher mobility in ASEAN. And furthermore, most importantly, I hope that I have inspired you to establish your own mobility and interact with other cultures. I-comment ang inyong mga katanungan at mga kuro-kuro tungkol sa ating episode ngayong araw. Huwag rin kalimutan i-like at i-share ang ating episode. Sa muli, ako si Kim De Castro at sumainyo ang PNU Talks.